Hey one, hey all, welcome to Monday, welcome to Countdown Day, and as suggested by Master Far, we are looking at, and as voted on by fans, we are looking at the top 10 successes, accomplishments, feats that Megatron accomplished. Sometimes he came close to winning. Sometimes he actually succeeded and won at certain things. He tried a lot of nefarious plans, some more successful than others. These, as voted on by fans, like I said, the top 10 most successful accomplishments, feats of Megatron. Any Megatron, any continuity. This is going to be a wild one, and the latest GotBot counts down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share. Of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. Helps me out a ton, lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. So, like I said, this is the top 10 successes, accomplishments, like greatest feats of Megatron. And I didn't want to just limit it to one version of Megatron because he has existed and been remade and revisioned and resought across so many different continuities, from Unicron Trilogy to Animated to Prime to IDW to Cyberverse to Cyber World, that's going to be up and coming, to Beast Wars, Beast Machines, all of it. Some iteration of Megatron. So the greatest, I guess, 10 greatest feats of any Megatron, right? That's what this is. The honorable mentions include his overall rise to power. The story's always the same. Somehow, some way, Megatron rises to power and gets or other bots, I suppose, to follow him. Whether it's because he was military hardware that didn't want to just have a military purpose but wanted to conquer, because he's very Machiavellian, for example. Whether he is a miner who rises up feeling betrayed by his hero, a la Transformers 1. Whether he is a miner and a gladiator who rose from the pits to overthrow the caste system and the governments that existed of the day and led a revolution. His rise to power, however it occurred, is an honorable mention. As is his defeat of Decepticon. I mean, basically he had a point-blank shot and destroyed Decepticon. When you could shoot down a god, that's a pretty big deal. And speaking of Transformers 1, when he actually took out Sentinel Prime, which was supposed to mark the end of Sentinel's tyrannical reign over Cybertron and collusion with the Quintessons. Of course, as we all know, if you've seen Transformers 1, that really what happens is it just leads to his bitterness and the rise of the Decepticons overall. So his overall power rise, defeating Decepticon, and the fact that he eliminates Sentinel Prime and Transformers 1. Those three, the honorable mentions, they did not make the final list. Who did, what did? You know what we're going to do. We're going to do as we always do and kick things off with number 10, Burst. Coming in at number 10, we go to G1. This, by the way, is Toy World's Hegemon, for anybody who's wondering. Every time I show this guy, I always get the question, who is that? It's Toy World Zeta Hegemon. There's a silver version of him, by the way, that was released in, I want to say 2018. He pairs so spectacularly well with 86 Optimus. I digress. Number 10 takes us back to G1. Takes us back to, I think it was a 2-part episode, and it was Megatron's Master Plan. And in Megatron's Master Plan, he basically tricks Sean Berger, who has a lot of money and a lot of power, and in the end, they kind of turn everybody against the Autobots. The Autobots are the bad guy, and they send them off Earth. And then Megatron's like, haha, I fooled you, we're the real tyrants, and now you're all our slaves. So like, yeah, had the world think that the Autobots were bad and then conquered humanity. That's tyranny for you. That's Megatron, and it takes the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9 is when Megatron took out the DJD on Necro World. I don't really know what Necro World is. I know that this is an IDW thing, so I really don't know the details. But I do know enough to realize that Megatron kind of realized that the DJD and Tarn in particular had become a really big danger. I mean, they could not be allowed to continue on the way that they continued on. And as much as Tarn idolized Megatron, it was Megatron who had to do the dirty deed. It was Megatron who had to finally end the DJD and Tarn himself. It has to be a weird thing. It has to be a hard thing to take out a group, to take out a leader that imaged himself after you. Yeah, taking out the DJD takes the number 9 slot. Coming in at number 8, we have this. IDW's turn of, I guess, face turn. If you know wrestling terms, this would be a face turn, right? Where Megatron turned from the Decepticons, became an Autobot, seeking to atone for his sins, for his choices. You know, he's sorry for anything, everything, all of it, because he realizes that his tyranny, that his hunger and lust for power was the wrong thing to do and the wrong way to do it. Didn't seek forgiveness. He didn't seek forgiveness. He sought to make penance. Penance is earned through good deeds. And that's exactly why IDW Megatron's turn to the Autobots is considered one of his greatest successes, one of his greatest feats. And it takes the number 8 slot. Coming at number 7 is something that occurred kind of between 1985 to certainly 2005 when Megatron had conquered Cybertron. So people that voted for this said, look, in the G1 continuity, the Autobots end up leaving Cybertron. It's desperate times. Of course, Megatron goes after. He leaves a contingent led by Shockwave behind. And even in the G1 series, we know that there's an Autobot resistance, but it certainly seems like Shockwave and the Decepticons control the majority of Cybertron. It's even stated that by 2005, the Decepticons had conquered Cybertron. Naturally, it wouldn't last, and we would end up ushering in a new golden age eventually. But you can't deny that even if for a brief time, Megatron promised to rule Cybertron, and he pulled it off. Yeah, Megatron ruling Cybertron by 2005 takes the number 7 slot. Coming in at number 6, we have a little bit of an oddity, because number 6 is the creation of the Stunticons. I was curious, why the Stunticons over Abominus, or over Devastator, or over Bruticus? Well, those that voted said, look, it's hard to say with Devastator what came first, because did the Constructicons make Megatron, or did Megatron make the Constructicons? Because the continuity really got mushed up there in G1. This guy apparently was made before Bruticus. I can't remember the order. The reasoning, though, that people said the Stunticons is because it was the plan that Megatron had to increase their presence and their threat on the road instead of just in the sky. Because at that point, you had a bunch of Seekers who were planes. You had Soundwave, who was a cassette player. You had Reflector. That trio turned into a camera, and you had Megatron, who turned into a pistol. Anybody else, anything else, was on Cybertron. Even laser cannon, laser beam, Shockwave. And Megatron wanted to get on the roadway. So, he made the Stunticons and even went to Vector Sigma, if I'm not mistaken, to get their personalities. I mean, yeah, I guess. Of all of the combiners that the Decepticons have, probably the creation of this guy stands out among them as the most significant, because it's what made the Decepticons a true blue threat on the roads. Yeah, the creation of the Stunticons takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd because we've reached the ever coveted, ever popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, this time, I mean, I'm going to hold this guy, but we could be talking about animated, we could be talking about Prime, we could be talking about any version of Megatron. Because number 5 is his ability to control an entire army. I mean, the Decepticons are made up of many, many bots, of many, many sizes, with a lot of disgruntled, angry, underhanded attitudes. Whether it's the scheming of Starscream, the belligerence of Bruticus, the might of Trypticon, they all bow and follow Megatron for whatever weird reason. Whether we're talking G1, whether we're talking Transformers Prime, whether we're talking even like a smaller contingent that, say, Beast Wars Megatron would have had. Behind me, any Decepticon that you see there is subservient to this guy, to Megatron, to some version of Megatron. Yeah, his ability to control the actions, the motivations, and the machinations of an entire army takes the number 5 slot. Okay, so stick with me now, because number 4 is taking us to Cyberverse. I know this isn't Cyberverse, this is Super 7, and this is, I think, this is the Browning, if I'm not mistaken. Even though it's like Megatron all in black. Stick with me. But we're going to Cyberverse and Megatron X. So if you didn't watch Cyberverse, near the end of that show, a Megatron who is mostly black, that looks an awful lot like this Megatron, came through basically like a dimensional portal. He got the technology to hop dimensions after conquering the Quintessons in his own dimension. That was after he had conquered the Autobots and eliminated them, and conquered Cybertron to such a degree that he even stole the matrix of leadership for himself and his own usage. Megatron X absolutely won in his dimension, in his universe, absolutely was the winner in the end, and was such a tyrant that he not only wanted to conquer his own universe, his own Cybertron, his own Earth, but he started to use the interdimensional technology of the Quintessons to conquer, or attempt to conquer, other universes as well. It took a lot of doing. It took a lot of details. It even took the ghost of the Optimus from his dimension to finally stop this guy. Megatron X, easily the biggest Megatron threat there's ever been. And if you think Megatron is a tyrant, Megatron X is a tyrant multiplied by 1,000,000. Yeah, he's just that bad. Megatron X, he won in his own dimension, and he tried to win it in others, and it takes the number 4 slot. Now we are into the top 3, and at number 3 we go to Beast Wars, and when Megatron tried to actually eliminate the existence of the Autobots and the Maximals by going on the Ark in the past, blasting, if I'm not mistaken, like half of Optimus's face away, trying to steal the matrix of leadership, trying to eradicate the Autobots before they ever wake up. If you eradicate the Autobots, if they never wake up, the Decepticons win. There are no Maximals to descend from the Autobots, but there will always be Predacons to descend from the Decepticons. This Megatron named himself after G1 Megatron, after idolizing that guy. So much so that when he was aboard the Ark trying to destroy Optimus, he actually took the spark of Megatron, G1 Megatron, in his body and became this thing. Yes, it was such a close threat, such a dangerous threat, and such a masterful plan. Beast Wars Megatron almost changing all of the main timeline, all of reality, so that the Autobots and the Maximals never existed. It came this close to succeeding, and it takes the number 3 slot. At number 2, we stick with Beast Wars, more appropriately Beast Machines, and Megatron conquering and in essence becoming Cybertron, or at least the core thereof. When Beast Machines opens up, we see that the Maximals can't transform. There's some sort of like transformation plague or something that he created that like helped him to take over Cybertron, that helped him to like eradicate free will. He made all of the drones kind of in his image. It was his ideal, and he used to call it purely clean technological Cybertron. And the organic filth that the Beast Wars had kind of tied into their cybernetics was being wiped away for technological perfection. He had won. Cybertron was his. He was Cybertron. They were one and the same. The Grand Maul. We all remember that huge head. He was the biggest threat. He had far surpassed his G1 idol. And even since then, I don't know if there's any Megatron, other than maybe Megatron X, who won in his dimension. I don't know if there's any Megatron who was as victorious as Beast Wars, Beast Machines Megatron. I mean, he even took old bots, old sparks, and made them his generals by removing their free will. Everything, everyone, an entire planet subservient to one tyrant. It was going to be an uphill climb all along to try and end his reign. It happened, but for a long time and for a little while there, Megatron ruled with an iron fist. And that takes the number 2 slot. And now here we are, very tippy top, number 1. And at number 1 we go back to G1 when Megatron succeeded and eradicated Optimus Prime. I mean, you can say what you like. A lot of people, myself included, tend to say that Hot Rod had a hand in what happened. Some people say Hot Rod had no hand in it. It was going to happen anyway. That's not what this is about. It's not here for the debate. But at the end of the day, the damage to Optimus's side, the battle that took place, and the final blast that Megatron gave with that little laser pistol where he said, "Fall, fall!" And Optimus actually fell. At the end of the day, as beat up and bashed up as Megatron was, even being ejected from Astro Train by Starscream, Megatron was never taken offline. Beat to smithereens, luckily given a new body as Galvatron, but he was never taken offline. Optimus, however, was. Yes, he promised to one day extinguish the spark of Optimus Prime, and he succeeded in doing it. That has to be his absolute greatest feat, and it takes the number 1 slot. By the way, don't these two look fabulous together? And there you go, 10 down to 1 once again for the most successful, most dangerous threats that Megatron ever pulled off. And there were some great ones there, other votes, other things that he did. What about when Beast Wars Megatron in Code of Hero said, what if we just don't let humans evolve, right? He was going to eradicate all of the proto-humans. If the humans don't evolve, then, you know, Earth will never be what it was, right? What about his patience with Starscream? That's one of his greatest feats. Let's see. Having a dangerous alt mode. Showing compassion to Ravage and IDW. The fact that he showed compassion showed that he grew as a character. In Cybertron, severely damaging Red Alert, Hotshot, and Sound Blaster, I think it is. Let's see. What about when he worked with Optimus Prime to stop the Insecticons? I think that's when they wanted to blow up a meteor or something like that. Let's see. What about the Transformers Prime version of Megatron when he lost his taste for domination after being dominated by Unicron and disbanded the Decepticons? Again, character growth. He became not so much a good guy, but you know what? I don't want to conquer. Tyranny's not where it's at. I've been under the thumb of a tyrant, being Unicron. Doesn't feel that good, right? Again, growth. Marvel UK Target 2006 when he was the leader of the Autobots. Don't know anything about that. Animated Megatron, who manipulated poor Isaac Sundak into giving him an actual new body. What else? In All Hail Megatron, when he actually steals the Matrix from Optimus. Pretty decisive victory, if you ask me. Let's see. What about during the Prime Wars trilogy when he comes out of retirement and takes out Megatronus, who he idolized, as well then uses the Requiem Blaster to take out the impenetrable Overlord as well. He was one of the big heroes. I know the Machinima series gets a lot of hate, but if you actually watch it, one of the bright spots is Megatron, because he's just so disgusted and tired of everything. And like he comes back and like he's faced with Megatron. He's like, my name's Megatron. Obviously, you don't know who you're dealing with. And like he takes him out. And then he uses the Requiem Blaster, takes out Overlord, who was like one of the big baddies in it. He actually had turned Hot Rod into like Rodimus Unicronus or whatever he was, right? So like, yeah, for sure. Big threat. I like that Megatron. What about in Dark of the Moon when he revives Sentinel and comes, again, this close to conquering Earth, enslaving all of humanity, along with Sentinel, to revive Cybertron? What about in Transformers Animated when he decapitated Starscream? Or when... or what about Beast Wars Megatron's competency? Just being a competent leader. His self-sacrifice, although I thought it was Starscream, but his self-sacrifice when he was in the Galvatron body during Armada to help stop Unicron. Still the same guy, just a different color. Oh, what about in Transformers Prime when he uses the Starsaber, when he actually gets the Liege Maximo's arm and replaces his arm so that he can actually wield it. What about, let's see, what else do we have here? What about when Ghost Cybertron Megatron actually like upgrades, I guess, Crumple Zone into Dark Crumple Zone? Or when he kills Psykill in IDW? What about the fact that he just started a war? You know, he was the guy who started the war. Oh, what about the attack on the Autobot shuttle in the 86 movie? He took out a bunch of Autobots there, even though Starscream was using them. The blows came from Megatron. I mean, he left a lot of bodies in his wake. And not only that, but you could also add that he was smart enough to get it past the early warning signs of Autobot City by using the shuttle to, enter their airspace and then attack Autobot City. He attacked the shuttle, took out a bunch of bots once and for all, used that shuttle, attacked Autobot City, and took out Optimus. Like, there's a whole lot of accomplishments there. And my personal favorite vote, when Beast Wars Megatron made getting a bath with a rubber ducky cool again. Those and even more feats from Megatrons all across the continuities. Let me know what your favorite feat of Megatron was. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel, and don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.